Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, October 2nd. I'm Mark Dent, here with Katherine Laidlaw, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. So it's been a turbulent week for Hollywood. President Donald Trump re-announced his intentions to place tariffs on foreign-made films, and there's an AI actress named Tilly Norwood drawing interest from agents and a whole lot of anger from actors. We're going to get to all that and to the latest in business and tech news right after this. Well, the federal government shut down yesterday. What has that meant for the economy? White House Budget Director Russell Vought has told reporters the administration plans on laying off federal workers in the next couple of days to shrink the size of the federal government. And the White House has also halted $18 billion in federal infrastructure projects. As for the stock market, major indices like the Russell 2000 and S&P 500 were slightly up as of close on Wednesday. In other economic news, Lisa Cook, the Federal Reserve governor targeted by Trump, can keep her position for now, according to the Supreme Court. But the justices said they plan to meet in January to listen to arguments and make a final decision about whether Trump can fire her. Moving on to peanut butter and jelly. The trend of proteinifying all foods has just notched a big win because the J.M. Smucker Company is rolling out a new line of its Uncrustables sandwiches that are packed with not just 12 grams of protein, but also made with whole grains and high in fiber. This is going to show up in stores in about a month. And as everybody knows, high-protein foods are very much in, and Uncrustables have really been having a moment, particularly because of professional athletes. There was a really interesting story in The Athletic not too long ago that reported that NFL teams collectively go through at least 80,000 Uncrustables every year. That's a lot of Uncrustables.
80,000! That's an incredible amount of Uncrustables, although this definitely is making me want to line up, check out what all of these are about.
Yeah, I sort of understand the Uncrustables, but as someone who does eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I kind of like to just make them, and then they're not, prepackaged and I assume preservative laced, or laced with more preservatives, because I get it, like jelly quite literally is preserves. Then another win, not just for protein, but this one actually for humans. Humans specifically who like jobs. According to a study by Yale researchers, generative artificial intelligence technologies like ChatGPT haven't yet caused a major disruption in the labor market. But the caveat, as CNN points out, is that the technology is still very new, and companies like Dropbox and Duolingo have said that they've made layoffs because of AI. And the Anthropic CEO, among others, have, of course, warned that massive employment changes could happen in the near future. So, in case you need a stiff drink after that last line, consider whiskey, because it wasn't just a dry January for the whiskey industry, it was a dry Q1. American whiskey distilleries are basically in a crisis. They produced their lowest quantity since 2019, according to the Robb Report. Overall, first quarter numbers this year were down 28% from the same time last year.
Hey, it's Anna Sale, host of Death, Sex, and Money, the show from Slate about the things we think about a lot and need to talk about more. Many of us have something going on behind closed doors, like a listener we called Elizabeth, who told us she's a hoarder.
I see mess beyond probably what most people think of when they think of mess.
We'll work through it all together on Death, Sex, and Money. Listen wherever you get podcasts.
For more stuff like that, subscribe to the show and we'll have more for you tomorrow. All right, let's go from one industry in crisis to another that's in a crisis, and one that is just perennially, I think, in a crisis, or at least maybe since the golden age of like the 50s and 60s or something like that. But Hollywood, as everyone knows, box office totals for films have not been good. We've long moved past peak TV, peak Netflix, etc. There was the strike of the writers in 2023, the strike in the actors at the same time. It's just one thing after another for Hollywood. And this week, there were a couple of semi-new things that are now scary for Hollywood. First, having to do with tariffs.
Yeah, that's right. Donald Trump is coming again for Hollywood. He sort of first mentioned this, I believe, back in May, and has reiterated his desire to do a 100% tariff rate on any film made outside of the U.S., which I think has raised a lot of questions about how this would actually work, given that a lot of films are made outside of the US.
Yeah. I think it's just also a question of how do you put a tariff on something that is, really not that physical. Film in a lot of cases is just digital now, but it's a service. And most of the tariffs that the White House has so far enacted have been more related to goods. Here's what Trump said in a post on Truth Social, quote, "Our movie-making business has been stolen from the United States of America by other countries, just like stealing candy from a baby." End quote.
Fighting words.
Yes, but also true to some degree. As you just mentioned, there are so many things that are made overseas now, so many jobs that people used to have in California, particularly production-wise, they just aren't there anymore. And they are more so in places like Europe, Australia, New Zealand, wherever.
Yesterday, CNBC talked about one report that came out in January. It said that the UK, Vancouver in Canada, Toronto in Canada, Central Europe, and Australia are all ranked higher than Los Angeles as the best locations for filming. So Los Angeles isn't even cracking the top 5 anymore. And that's according to an industry report. I think this shift has been in the making for decades, developing international production hubs. And as far as I know, one of the big contributing factors is that labor is cheaper elsewhere, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And speaking of Vancouver, I just assume whenever I'm watching a movie that it was filmed in Vancouver. If it doesn't have like a specific location attached to it where it's like, oh, this is Pittsburgh, I guarantee that was filmed in Vancouver. It always is. They have tall buildings, they have nature, and they have everything there.
It's funny. I live in an area of Toronto where a lot of production companies have offices or stages out and about. And actually, the other day, I was walking by a set that was stylized to look like New York. And it's sort of become a bit of a running joke, like Suits was filmed here, The Handmaid's Tale. You can sort of pick out different city vistas that are not so elegantly disguised.
It's just not that hard to make them look the same.
Yeah.
You mentioned labor. The New York Times had a story in April, actually, just before Trump first discussed tariffs, that had some of the truly drastic things that are happening that are allowing these films and TV shows to be made overseas. And one of them, they brought up this reality show where they fly the contestants to Ireland to film it there because it's cheaper than filming it in California.
Wow.
There was also in that story this document that the New York Times acquired, and it showed that the 7-person set operations team costs about $59,000 for a 30-day shoot in Budapest, Hungary. And in the US, certainly in Los Angeles at least, it would cost about $53,000 for just one of those people for that period of time. So it is a nearly impossible difference to overcome when you think about costs like that. And I mean, 100% tariff wouldn't even make enough of a difference. But what it's really going to come down to this is all these tariffs that have rolled out. Some have happened, some haven't. They've been piecemeal, etc. But Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers, the big distributors and studios are the ones who are going to be having to bear the brunt of this. And I think it'll be interesting to see how much labor actually might be okay with all this because they know that they aren't getting the work they used to.
So labor is actually potentially bracing for a hit on another front.
Yeah, that is very true. And this one could be even more existential than the last 20 years of just films going overseas.
That's right. And actually, as you mentioned, Tilly Norwood, this AI actor that is now coming on the scene, even her name sounds AI generated to me.
Yeah. And obviously we are on an audio medium right now. But if any of our listeners have not looked up Tilly Norwood yet, it definitely still looks like AI, but it does look really good and pretty convincing. Created by the London studio Particle 6 and a Dutch comedian named Elin van der Velden. And supposedly, according to van der Velden, agencies are looking to sign this AI thing. It's not a she. We can't use that pronoun. This is AI.
I mean, Tilly is convincing enough that it seems to have the industry running scared, or at the very least mounting a defense in favor of continuing to use human actors.
Yeah.
The head of SAG-AFTRA is sort of underscoring in a statement how against this idea. His union is saying Tilly Norwood is not an actual human performer. It's an artificially intelligent construct. So also going with the it there, not deigning to use pronouns for this creation.
Yeah. And I mean, Emily Blunt, very famous actress. She was on a podcast with Variety earlier this week. And the person who was interviewing her asked her about Tilly Norwood, and she hadn't heard the news yet. So they explained what was going on. And I mean, Emily Blunt, I think, just kind of summed up what I feel like a lot of people in probably Hollywood have been worrying about with AI, which is, quote, "Does it disappoint me? I don't know how to quite answer it other than to say how terrifying this is." End quote. As I mentioned in the intro, Hollywood has faced so many different complications and issues. The screenwriters, when they were on strike in 2023, they got some guardrails in to keep AI at bay in their latest contract. But when you just see something like this, it's like, forget what that study said earlier, and maybe there hasn't been any full-scale disruptions. This would seem to say it's getting a little bit weird out there.
Would certainly suggest otherwise. One thing that does bring me a little bit of hope, though, when I hear about stories like this, is that I have noticed in sort of cultural moments when Hollywood gets involved or when celebrities start speaking out against something, it tends to have the effect of maybe at least nudging, if not completely turning, the public tide against something. And so I'm hopeful that now that people are speaking out, I think this creation was actually completed back in June or July.
Right,
but now that people are actually sort of speaking out in outrage about it, maybe it'll sort of help turn public tide against diving all in on AI. We can dream, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we got OpenAI's new vertical video thing coming out, and now Tilly Norwood. So, yeah, I think we're going to be talking about some more of these creations in the next few months, too.
Yeah.
That'll do it for us today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of Hubspot Media. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. We'll see you tomorrow.
Look, I'm going to be straight with you. Everybody's talking about AI, but most people are just playing around with ChatGPT instead of actually making money from it. That's why we dropped the ultimate crash course to create your own AI side hustle in 7 days. We're talking real frameworks and strategies from the pros, like the founder of The Hustle, Sam Parr. It includes mini guides, templates, the whole 9 yards, stuff that takes years to figure out, condensed into 1 week. Stop what you're doing right now and grab it in the show notes. Your future self will thank you.